trying to figure out a little bit more about Denver's neighborhoods and Denver's suburbs, you're in the right place. Where to live in Denver? We are going to take a look at that today. Stick around. Hey everybody, it's Alyson Wahl with Live South Denver, your real estate strategist and realtor for the South Denver area. For those of you who are not new to the channel, you know that this setup here is a little different than we normally do, but that's because today we are going to be spending some time on a screencast. I'm going to be sharing my screen with you, and we're going to be looking at a Google map that I have created that shares the Denver suburbs across the South Denver area. And as we go through them, I am going to share with you some of the perks, maybe some of the detractions that may exist for that area, and a little bit about each of the suburbs, because I get a lot of questions when people call me or email me about where should I live in Denver. So we're going to talk about that today. All right, let's jump right in. First, we're going to have an overview here. You can see this is really all of the South Denver area highlighted here on this map. As we look, you can see Denver is right here, and these are all of the suburbs that we are going to take a look at. But first, I'm going to clear the map so that we get to take a look at them one by one. So let's start from over here at Lakewood, and we'll work our way around like this. So Lakewood is right here. As you can see, I'm going to blow it up on the screen so we can talk about it in a little bit more detail. As you can tell, it is on the west side of Denver, and that alone makes it a really desirable suburb. It is not a very bad commute into Denver, and it puts it in really good proximity to I-70 and getting to the mountains. So for those of you who are moving to Denver for a mountain lifestyle, and you're going to be working in Denver or on the west side, if your job is even maybe over toward Golden or Boulder, Lakewood is going to be probably where we're going to center our focus for home searching. Also, if you plan to be in the mountains nearly every weekend in the winter and you're big time hikers, Lakewood is prime territory. And then on top of that, if you are outdoors and don't want to have to go to the mountains all the time, look at these large parks down here. You've got a lot of green space just right in Lakewood alone. So that is what makes Lakewood really desirable in the South Denver suburb area. What Lakewood is not is an area with a lot of master planned communities. So we'll talk about some of the areas that are heavily master planned, that have just a lot of amenities centered around shopping centers and schools. That's really not what you get when you're up in Lakewood. But what it does have outweighs a lot of those things. All right, let's shrink the map back a touch. And let's move one suburb to the south and talk about Littleton. Okay. Now, Littleton, as you can see here, is pretty large. We have got this area that is in more of the bold outline, and then this area which is in the finer outline. This area in the bold outline is proper Littleton. It's the town of Littleton. This area over here is what I call postal code Littleton. It is all of Littleton that when you're writing someone a piece of mail, their address is in Littleton, but they are not in the town of Littleton. So let's take a little bit bigger look over here. Littleton here, the town of Littleton, really cool area. Again, not an HOA or master planned community focused area, but very popular, very desirable. This area here is really diverse. The houses could be very small ranchers or ramblers on some decent sized lots. And just a stone's throw away, we could be up against $1 million home. And a stone's throw from there, we could have some townhouses and even apartments. All of this is pretty central to the Old Town historic area and Main Street. We've got a great park, a lake to walk around, Littleton's Historic Museum, which is a family favorite. So this is just a really popular, great area with some diverse housing options. You can come in here and you can pop the top, so you can expand your house, you can remodel. There's not a lot of control over paint colors, parking on the street, all of those things in most of the areas. Not every area, but most of the areas in here. All right, so let's now talk about all of this. So over here, we've got some water. This makes for a really popular neighborhood that people love to get into. It does have an HOA, but you've got the access to the water in the neighborhood. Very fun. Over here, we've got King Carroll Ranch and King Carroll Valley. You truly are almost nestled up getting in toward the foothills over here. Great, cool lifestyle. There are some good trails. You see lots of wildlife and deer back here. This is an area where you really start to feel quintessential Colorado, and yet you're in one of the suburbs. We come down here and you're on the border of Chatfield State Park. By the way, if you're moving here for a job with Lockheed Martin, Lockheed is down here at the south end of Chatfield. So that is kind of where you're going to be commuting to, which makes this part of Littleton a great option for looking for a home. There's a lot of recreation around Chatfield. You can stand up paddleboard, you can boat on Chatfield. There's some great hiking, some beautiful neighborhoods back in here too. In addition, Littleton is, as you can see, also on the west side of Denver, so it does put you closer to the mountains. Again, if you are a weekend warrior for skiing and hiking, it does cut off 20 to 30 minutes from your commute to getting up to Vail, Keystone, Breckenridge, those places, compared to if you are on the eastern side of Denver. All right, let's go one suburb to the east and hit Highlands Ranch. Okay, you can see this little rectangular stamp of neighborhood over here. Highlands Ranch is just one of the most popular suburbs in South Denver. Why is that? Highlands Ranch is not even a town. There's no mayor. There's not a government. It is an HOA. It is over 30 years old and one of the original large master planned communities in the US. Now there are numerous of them, and they really looked to Highlands Ranch as to how to develop a large HOA. When you come and we start to tour areas around South Denver and we head into Highlands Ranch, you'll see just a hint and a taste of what makes it different. It is more green throughout, a little more manicured throughout, and it's because it's all maintained by the HOA. So instead of having areas where there might be some natural grasses with no sprinklers and no mowing, all of the neighborhood looks that way because the HOA is overseeing all of it. All of the fencing that is facing the roads is maintained by the HOA. You know, all of those little details. So it's just a little bit more manicured than many of the other areas. And that is not always desirable to everyone. Some people want a little more oversight to their home. They want to have a little more say in their paint colors, a little more say in what they do to their homes. But Highlands Ranch is really quite pretty. Also, there are a lot of amenities. I'm going to blow this up and we can talk about kind of where things sit in Highlands Ranch. So there are 4 rec centers in Highlands Ranch: North Ridge, South Ridge, East Ridge, and West Ridge. And that's really how the community is divided up into areas and subdivisions, neighborhoods, if you will. So the North Ridge Rec Center is right about up here, and it's the original section of Highlands Ranch. We've got South Ridge kind of over here, if you will. East Ridge is over here, and West Ridge is over here, roughly. So there is a rec center for every section of Highlands Ranch. You don't have to get very far from your own house to have a great pool, tennis courts, workout facility, batting cages, all sorts of things. And each one is a little bit unique. There's also shopping very close to every home. It's a master planned community. It's designed that way. And there are great trails all throughout. If you haven't seen it yet, I do have a set of videos on Highlands Ranch. It will introduce you a little bit more in depth to the area if you want to take a look. Okay, let's shrink this back. We're going to take a dog leg to the south and start checking out Castle Pines and Castle Rock before we come up and continue around. So let's highlight that on the map. All right, Castle Pines. Now you can see this one is a little bit smaller. It's right down here. So we're going to expand it again too. Castle Pines is a little bit of a luxury community, and it is growing, and it is a golf community. Those are the two things that really identify Castle Pines. Its name does not lie about it. It really does have a lot of pine trees and really unique terrain. When you're there, compared to when you're in some of the other suburbs that we will be talking about, there are a lot of trees, and that makes it very lovely. Especially when we get more east, we get to a lot more flat ground, as well as the fact that when you're building tons and tons of homes, as some of these builders have done in areas like Highlands Ranch, the trees get taken down and it takes a long time for them to come back. While in the Castle Pines area, they've taken a lot of care to leave the trees, to build within them, and to just really keep the feel of being in the woods. And there are the beautiful golf courses in there. Now, this gap you see here between Highlands Ranch and Castle Pines, there's nothing there right now. That is open space. and it will most likely remain open space. So don't expect for there to be new homes coming into this area right here. Now, this area right here is where Castle Pines and Castle Rock meet up. So let's go ahead and talk about Castle Rock. Okay, Castle Rock is pretty big, as you can tell. It is another really popular, well-loved suburb. I have also done a set of videos on Castle Rock. If you haven't seen that yet, you can go check that out. As you can tell, it straddles I-25, so it's actually quite diverse in terms of views, the styles of homes, whether it's heavy on HOAs and amenities or a little more quiet and rural. So Castle Rock appeals to all sorts of people. All right, I'm going to blow it up and we're going to touch really briefly on what's here because I have so many videos that go in depth in the area. All right, so right here is the retail district. This is where the outlets are, the primary shopping, your Whole Foods, your Sam's Club, your Target, all of that is right up here in the north end. This is one of the largest HOA master planned communities. Right here, we've got another golf course to talk about. There are several in this area. Over here, we're expanding. There's some more new construction as well as some great homes that already exist. There's some luxury homes, some homes on larger lots. There's just some great options over here in this part of town. This is the downtown area. There are historic homes. There are some new condos. This is where the farmers market is. It's a really vibrant area over here. There is also a golf course right here. And then we head down to some more rural options, really, truly some rural feeling places. We've got equestrian properties, 5+ acres, another master planned community that sits right over here. Now, one thing I do want to say for those of you who might have interest in Castle Rock is it is a great midway point for those of you who may be considering a job in Denver or Colorado Springs, or who are a couple and have one person looking at a job in Denver or Colorado Springs, because the commute time between the two from Castle Rock is pretty much the same. It is about a 45 to 55 minute commute to the Springs and to Denver in traffic hour. So it makes it a great middle spot. All right, let's move on from here, reshrink that, and we are going to look at Lone Tree. Now, this is, as you can see, a little postage stamp size suburb compared to all the rest that we've been looking at, but it packs a big punch. It is a luxury community, as I tend to call it. It has homes at a much higher price point on average than the other suburbs here. And part of that is just its size. There aren't as many homes, and the homes that are here are more expensive. There are a lot of luxury homes over $1 million, right at or near $1 million. And some of that is just by their sheer size. They're designed to be luxury. And part of it is just the location, the proximity to I-25, the ease of commute, the amenities. There is a golf course here in Lone Tree. The homes are designed on a larger scale. They're just meant to be lovely. In addition, if you live in Lone Tree, you are just moments away from the Charles Schwab headquarters, as well as several other major company headquarters that are right in or around Lone Tree. On top of that, Lone Tree has a great access via light rail if you choose to be a public transit user instead of wanting to drive your own car. I'm going to blow it up here just a bit for you so we can take a closer peek. Okay, this right here is an awesome park called the Bluffs. It is a hike that takes you up quite a bit in a short amount of time and gives you a great view over downtown and toward the tech center. So you get some great views north and west. You do get to see the mountains and foothills too. So it's a really popular location. So you have a park right here in the Lone Tree area. And then up here is Park Meadows Mall. It's the premier shopping district for the South Denver area. Great shops, great food. The shops here are probably the more accessible to the masses kind of shops. So we have a Nordstrom, we have a Dillard's, we've got an Anthropologie, we have Athleta. So all of those types of shops. If you're looking for Saks Fifth Avenue, Restoration Hardware, those are up in Denver at our Cherry Creek Mall. Just to the east of Lone Tree is Parker. Parker dwarfs Lone Tree, doesn't it? All right, this side of Parker, the east side, still has some larger plots of land. You can have horses out there. You often can get some sweeping views all the way from Pikes Peak down in Colorado Springs across all of the Rockies looking up to the north. It's great out there, definitely quiet, peaceful, some beautiful terrain and views. I love that side of Parker. I do not live on that side. I do live in Parker. I have lived in Highlands Ranch and Littleton as well. I live over here on the east side. It's a lot of new construction, new retail, planned communities, lots of amenities, easy access to I-25. So you have a taste of everything in Parker. Parker has a really cool vibe. It was a stagecoach stop back in the 1800s. It's been around for a long time. Our family has really loved living over here. We find it slightly more laid back, but yet has everything we want, including one of our favorite restaurants. So family friends of ours own 4 locations now, and they have one in Parker of one of the best Mexican restaurants around. But one of the other pluses to Parker's location, if you travel a lot, it is so close to your access to the airport, a 35-minute drive. And particularly for those of us on the west side, with that 4-minute drive to get over to I-25, we can get to downtown without traffic in 25 minutes. So it doesn't stretch our commute time to downtown any more than being on this side of I-25 does. A commute from Parker to the tech center, you can almost do without getting on I-25 as well. Okay, we are looking at our next suburb, which is Aurora. Look how big this is, and it's separated into 2 chunks. Now this over here, there's hardly any lines. This is all rural. We're not talking about this stuff at all. This over here is older Aurora, established Aurora. There's homes that go back to like the 50s, just like over here in Denver. So there are areas with no HOAs. You can choose your paint colors. You can remodel. You might find some mid-mod, and you'll find homes that go into the 60s, 70s, etc. Down here is more planned community style, new retail. You're going to find neighborhoods that have pools and clubhouses and tennis courts, all sorts of amenities. And the vibe is going to be much like you're going to find in Parker, Highlands Ranch, Castle Rock. And part of what has made this area desirable is with it being a little farther out, your commute is longer. For most people, assuming you're working toward the tech center or Denver, you get a little bit more house for your money. That's always the case the farther out you go. Now, if you're lucky enough to work in Aurora, work toward the airport, work in Parker, then you get a short commute and more house for your money. So this is our last suburb, and it is Centennial. You can see it is long and narrow, and it runs from Littleton over to Aurora and sits above Highlands Ranch, Lone Tree, and Parker. Centennial is our newest town. It used to just be an unincorporated area. So one of the things that will tell you about the area is it is not an area full of master planned communities. There are some really fantastic homes in Centennial. And one of the things that attracts people to Centennial is its proximity to Denver. As you can see here, it is one of the suburbs closest to Denver on the south side of town. Let's blow this up so you can see a little bit more in detail. Now, one of the things we didn't talk when we were just touching on Aurora a moment ago, but it does play in because they're both really close here. This is Cherry Creek State Park, another one of our fantastic state parks. And you can get in there and do some hiking, some paddle boarding. There's all sorts of activities. And Aurora is right there, as well as Centennial. And it butts right here up against Denver as well. Centennial is a great option for folks who are trying to get out of the city, have a suburban life, and not have a really long commute. Okay, and one last thing I really want to show you guys is an overlay of the major roads through the area. This is I-25 running north and south. This is C-470 and E-470 wrapping partway around the city. They actually go much farther than this. They go almost in a full loop up so you can sneak around and miss the I-25 traffic if you need to head up to Fort Collins or sneak around to 70. So E-470 is our toll road, as I've mentioned, and you can get to the airport that way and even past it. I-25 is clogged most of the time. There are a few breaks during the day. And this is C-470. I used to nickname them. C-470 was for cheap 470. E-470 was for expensive 470. It's kind of a misnomer now because over here in the Highlands Ranch section, there is now a large section of toll road. Now, that's going to be really helpful, particularly if you live in the Highlands Ranch area and are commuting this direction up to Denver on a regular basis, because it was incredibly congested during traffic hour, and actually both directions in traffic hour. And so now there are a couple of toll lanes and a couple of non-toll lanes in that section. So it will really loosen things up and be very helpful, I suspect. Now over here, this is where I-70 starts, this little green arrow off Lakewood, and that's where you head out to the mountains. All right, guys, I hope this was incredibly helpful for you as you are trying to learn about all the suburbs of the South Denver area. If I can do anything at all to help you more, please feel free to give me a call or shoot me a text or send me an email. It is always an honor to connect with you, talk with you, chat with you. All right, I'll see y'all next week.